Hi, fourth graders. Today you're going to be listening to the story, The Village of Left Behinds by Ethel Potchke. And afterwards, you're going to be mapping out the story using our www.what-to-how-to organizer. So as I am reading the story, be listening to the parts of our organizer. The Village of Left Behinds. In a basket in a corner of the laundry room of a large family's home, there lived the village of Left Behinds, a community of bewildered socks who had lost their mates and their reason for being. For what good was one sock? The mistress of the house had given them their own place where they could all wait for the return of their loved ones. Her sock drawer had become so crowded she could barely close it, but she was too soft-hearted to throw the odd ones away. It wasn't their fault their mates had vanished suddenly and mysteriously. One moment, they were in the washer or dryer or on their way to being folded and put away, and the next, they weren't. It was, she said, one of life's greatest mysteries. I think we can all think of that in our own lives. You have socks and they just disappear and you have no idea where they went. Every now and then, but not often, one of the missing did return, found in an unlikely place, in a lunchbox, under the couch, crumpled in pants pockets, in a book as a bookmark. And there was great rejoicing as their pair returned to the sock drawer. It gave the remaining left behinds hope that the miracle would happen again. You might think such a village would be a sad place, with the socks moping around, remembering stories about the old days and reminiscing about feet they had known. But for the most part, it wasn't. At first, the villagers spent their days learning to get along with one another. In this large family, there were all kinds. Old man socks, usually black with holes in toes and worn-out heels, men's itchy wool plaids, grandmother's brown cotton. The village occasionally had visitors from far away, and every happening was discussed and relived for weeks after the event. There was a convention of ladybugs who came down from the attic for a holiday to bask in the warmth of the dryer vent, and the friendly raid of mouse mothers for baby booties to use as buntings for their newborns. And the most recent, the cat, who decided the village was the best place to have her kittens. So she did. 5 of them. All sock plans were laid aside in the immediate need to keep the mother and children comfortable. When the kittens were old enough to climb out of their basket and go into the world, the socks were a little sad. The kittens had become part of their village. They were born there, after all. And so the days passed and the socks came and went. Now that it was spring, with cleaning and gardening in full force, every sock was needed. Soon there was only one left. The pretty, cheery, fuzzy red and white striped mare. She sat at the bottom of the basket with nothing to do, no one to comfort. Still, she held on to the hope that had kept her cheerful, that her mate would return. It could happen, she told herself each day. And what do you know? It did. Outside, the snowdrifts that covered the backyard melted into the earth. The dirty, icy crust turned to mud. The mistress hung her sheets out in the first crisp spring air, and her heart leaped up as she watched them billow into the sky. As she started back to the house, she slipped in the mud and fell face first into a pile of wet brown leaves. Her nose touched something soft and fuzzy. She hoped it wasn't an animal. When she saw what it was, she laughed in delight. She pulled up the dirty, soggy, red and white striped sock and exclaimed, "Well, there you are. It must have slipped out of my basket when she brought it. It must have slipped out of the basket when she brought in the laundry last fall." The mistress washed the sock and air dried it by the wood stove, fluffing it up before reuniting the couple. She wore the socks the very next day, which made all 3 of them very happy. Now the basket was empty. The village of Left Behind's deserted. Not a thread or shred of lace remained to show it had ever existed. Then, 3 days later, a pink bunny slipper sock was dropped into the basket. followed by a lady's black leather glove. And on the next day, but that's another story. So today we're just going to map out this story using our www.whattohowto organizer. Next week, you're going to work with this prompt in groups and work on storyboards. But you don't need to worry about this prompt or anything yet. All right. So once you are done listening to this, you can go ahead and map out this story with the drag and drop on Jamboard.